Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and welcome to this week's episode of 15 Minutes with the Team, a series where the Office of the Student Advocate discusses common topics within the DC education system to help you, the listener or the watcher, become better informed and empowered in less than 15 minutes. My name is Aaron Alexander, and I am a student advocate with the Office of the Student Advocate. Today, I am joined by the marvelous State Board of Education representative and teacher, Ben Williams. We'll be talking about the connection between teaching, leadership, and education policy and how schools, families, and communities can work together to better support the students. So, Ben, if you can introduce yourself and your role on the State Board of Education and tell us a little bit about your experience as a teacher.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Aaron. Glad to be with you. As Aaron said, my name is Ben Williams. I represent Ward 1 on the State Board of Education. I am in the fourth year of my four-year term, and I have taken on different leadership roles that have helped me understand education in the district throughout those 4 years. So I chaired the Student Experience Committee for 1 year. I chaired the state level and systems policy committee. So we looked at like different standards and rewriting financial literacy standards and developing different health standards and revamping our social studies standards. And then last year, I was also the vice president of the State Board of Education, which gave me the opportunity to interface with OSSE more regularly, the city council more regularly, DCPS leadership more regularly, and also the mayor's office more regularly. In my regular job throughout the day, I am also a DC teacher. So I currently teach, I have experience teaching in the charter sector, but for the last 2 years, I've been a DCPS teacher at School Without Walls High School. And there I teach the DC history, government, and also advanced placement world history. So I'm high school social studies is my bread and butter, if you will.
You are a man of much knowledge, it sounds like. um, I know when families hear State Board of Education, they understand it's related to education, but they may not know what they fully do, what the board does. How would you explain your role and responsibilities to students and families?
Good point. So I think like I am an elected member on behalf of the public, and the board itself is a way to amplify and advocate for student and family needs. Part of that is like in our office of the student advocate, the
Mm,
work that you do, and I think together we are stronger to be able to problem solve for families, connect families with resources, advocate for families when needed, and then also like try to advance change for to make the system clearer, simpler,
mm,
and easier for families to be able to deal with. We have a very complicated public education system in the District of
mm,
Columbia. We do not have a traditional school board since
mm,
2007. So the state board kind of took the place of that in 2007, and we are more advisory in our role. But because we regularly interface with policymaking agencies, or I should say other policymaking agencies, we can really lift up the community voice to be able to make the systems more responsive to family needs.
Well said. Well said. And like you mentioned, you are both a state board rep and a teacher. How has your classroom experience shaped the way you approach education policy and decision making?
I mean, it's a real privilege because I'm the
Mm,
first person in this role, and it shapes it in every policy issue that I look at. And to just give a couple examples, right? Like, we are getting somewhat better since the pandemic with regards to
mm,
absenteeism and truancy and just making sure students are in school. But it's not an abstract problem to me. It's something that I see every single day. So I know and and am able to see within the schools that I've been in reasons why kids aren't coming to school. I have relationships with families as to know what's holding them back from coming to school, being able to talk to my colleagues, both in my school and other schools, to know the specific reasons. And so I really try to take those lived experiences to push the system to make better policy. Um,
mm,
and I think there are a lot of pieces that are disconnected in education policy, and I try
mm,
to really encourage my students and the families and my colleagues to go to hearings, to write letters, to write emails, because unless government hears from people, it can't respond in the ways that they need.
Right on. That was a great answer. I know you touched a little bit on different issues that our education system is facing right now, but what's one specific issue students or families are facing right now that you think deserves more attention in DC education conversations?
Um, I would say I just mentioned the attendance and truancy, and I think we're making incremental progress on that. I think we need more system-wide efforts and resources, which is being talked about. But I would say the simple things such as improving our school facilities.
Hmm.
So many buildings are outdated. So many right now it is hot in Washington, D.C. People want
Hmm.
HVAC systems that work. Nobody wants to go into a classroom that is 80, 85, 90 degrees. Students want like a gymnasium to be able to like have and play sports. They want theaters to be able to,
Yeah.
experience the arts. And I think that we really need to take stock of the real resources that we are equitably or inequitably providing to students across the city.
Well, that was one right there. I know even in our office, we hear often about the infrastructure. And when I do tap into the public meetings, that is something that students are bringing up because they're in the school buildings for hours on a day. So, all right, all right. Um, Additionally, how do you specifically create opportunities for students to share their perspectives and feel heard in both the classroom and the larger education conversations as well?
Yeah, it's a great question, and that really, to me, gets at the heart of what I do because,
Mhm.
um, like I got into teaching to be able to make a change and have an impact, and I realized that like it's not just about me; it's about like me working with students, working with families, so that we can make positive change. And so I'll give you kind of three specific examples. So
Okay.
one, knowing the State Board of Education and being on the State Board of Education every single year, like I make sure that my students know about the student advisory committee. And I've had
Mhm.
students every single year, even before I was on the state board, be members of the student advisory committee. And the last 3 years, I've been lucky enough to have a student who I've either taught or goes to my school who is a student representative on the student advisory committee. So that means that they are able to kind of promote engagement and drive engagement for student voice around the city on a variety of policymaking issues. The other
Okay.
thing is to partner with additional organizations like OSA, the Ombudsman, or nonprofits like Mikva Challenge, like we recently did,
Mhm.
to be able to have places for decision makers to listen to student experiences. And we have issues right now with insufficient access to student nurses. We have,
Mhm.
we have challenges within our extracurricular sports in which there's not trainers or they're not referees or they're not adequate money for for uniforms in certain places.
Mhm.
And people who have the authority to make those decisions need to hear directly from students because it's more
Yeah.
powerful if they hear directly from students. So I say, like I said, connecting them with those nonprofit partners, and with regards to the state board. And then lastly, also um, connecting students and knowing how the city functions in
Yeah.
public spaces to
Yeah.
encourage students to testify at city council meetings. I've had students every single year in my class because I follow the budget closely and because I follow the hearing schedule closely, to know what is coming down the pike and to know what students care about and to be able to make room in my classes for students to be able to be problem solving on things and then speaking up when it comes the appropriate time to be able to say something.
Right on. Right on. Well done as well. So thank you for your continued efforts to try to amplify student voice. With all that being said, and despite some of the issues and concerns around DC education, what specifically gives you hope about the future of education in DC?
What gives me hope? Um, I mean, simply put, like our students,
Yeah.
I think that we have an incredible like every single year in all my classes, my students are incredible, and I think that with encouragement and with supportive school cultures, like they can really be incredibly successful. So I think that
Mhm.
we need to make sure to meet students where they're at so they can unleash their potential. And I think that it's a really hard time right now in education. It there are a lot of challenges with safety, a lot of challenges with mental health concerns for students, a lot of teacher burnout. So the challenges are considerable, but at the same time, I think that students are really incredible when they feel an authentic sense of support from their teachers, from their parents, and from their school community.
Hmm. Very true. Very true. And to close us out today, I do have one additional question for you. What's one thing you will leave the listeners or the watchers if you just could leave any piece of advice for anyone listening?
I could leave any piece of advice, is like just speak up and get involved. Like we no matter what your experience, what your perspective, the system works better when we're playing a role. And I really think that a lot of people have a lot of value and great ideas to be able to share, and there's a lot of work that can be done that can be strengthened if more people are involved with it.
Right on, right on. Well, Ben, I want to honestly thank you for this enlightening conversation. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for joining the Office of the Student Advocate. And to those who are listening who is unfamiliar with the Office of the Student Advocate, our role is to support students and families by helping elevate concerns, as Ben mentioned, connecting people to resources, and ensuring student and family voices remain a part of conversations and with conversations like these. So, again, thank you for your time this evening, and we're pretty grateful for you.
Yeah, I appreciate your work too. And thank you to everyone for taking a listen to our conversation tonight.
Hello.
Now give me that funky groove.